Have you ever stopped at your front door, hand on the doorknob, and looked back? He's there, watching you. He doesn't bark. He doesn't run. He just looks, with that expression you can't quite name, but that stays in your mind all day. And you think, will he be okay? Most people answer that with a story they've made up to feel better. He sleeps all day. He doesn't even notice I'm gone. Dogs live in the moment. They forget quickly. But what if I told you that science proves exactly the opposite? That while you're at work, at the store, at the gym, your dog's body goes through a sequence of reactions that researchers clinically compare to a form of acute grief. In this video, you'll discover 8 things that happen to your dog's body and mind the moment you close that door. This isn't meant to make you feel guilty. It's meant to give you something far more valuable: the ability to truly understand what he's going through. Some of these behaviors you've already seen and misunderstood your entire life. Others will permanently change the way you look at him. And I'm saving the most important one for last because it's the behavior most owners see every day but never truly understand what it means.
Have you ever noticed that he changes before you leave? Not when you grab your keys, not when you put on your shoes, before that. Sometimes it's enough that you turn off your alarm at a different time. Sometimes it's the clothes you choose. Sometimes it's the way you drank your coffee. And he already knows. He gets quieter, follows you more closely, lies down near the door. Most owners think it's a coincidence or that their dog is really smart. But what's happening there goes much deeper than intelligence. It's emotional survival. Dogs are masters of associative learning. Their brains automatically and involuntarily connect sequences of human behavior to outcomes. Keys in hand means separation. A bag on your shoulder means absence. A certain perfume means you'll be gone for hours. These associations are built through repetition, and they trigger a real physiological response even before you open the door. Cortisol levels, the stress hormone, begin to rise in his body while you're still inside the house. Think about that for a second. He's not reacting to your departure, he's anticipating the pain of your absence. Those are completely different things. A reaction is reflex, anticipation is conscious suffering. And what does that say about the bond between you? It says that you are so central in his life, so present as an emotional anchor, that his nervous system prepares for the loss before it even happens. You are his point of safety in the world, and when that point disappears, even for a few hours, his body goes into alert mode. That's not excessive attachment, that's love in biological language. And the second behavior will reveal something that seems like the opposite of this, but is in fact even more intense. Be honest. Have you ever had a camera at home or asked someone to check on him and felt relieved because he was quiet, lying down, apparently asleep? Whew, he was fine. That's one of the most dangerous interpretations a dog owner can make, because there's a state that animal behavior researchers call freezing, behavioral shutdown, and from the outside, it's indistinguishable from calm. Freezing is a response of the autonomic nervous system to situations of intense stress where the animal can't find a solution. It's not relaxation, it's the opposite. The body is under such overload that it shuts down. Think of it this way. When a dog is afraid and can run, he runs. When he can fight, he fights. But when the threat is absence, something he can't attack, can't escape, can't resolve, the nervous system finds a third option. It stops everything. Elevated heart rate, shallow breathing, eyes open or half closed, body completely still. To someone watching from the outside or through a camera, it looks like a calm dog, resting. For the dog, it's a state of silent distress. Now, this is important. Not every quiet dog is in a freezing state. Dogs that are well adapted to being alone develop real self-regulation strategies and genuinely rest in their owner's absence. The difference lies in the signals that appear before and after. A dog entering a freezing state usually shows intense anxiety in the first few minutes after you leave, vocalizing, trying to follow, searching behavior. Then he shuts down. And when the owner returns, he may display a disproportionate emotional release, intense barking, jumping, hyperactive behavior. That release isn't simple joy, it's the nervous system coming out of a frozen state. And here's what changes when you understand this. That well-behaved dog might be asking for help in a way you were never taught to recognize. His silence might be the loudest cry he can make. If this video is already resonating with you, if you're recognizing your dog in any of these descriptions, consider subscribing to the channel. We post every week to help owners understand what their dogs are trying to communicate. It's free, and it can change the way you care for the one who depends on you the most. Now, the third behavior. This one will completely reframe something most owners treat as a behavior problem, but is actually a desperate attempt at communication.
Have you ever gotten a complaint from a neighbor? Your dog barks all day when you leave, and you had no answer, because at home, with you there, he doesn't bark like that. He seems like a completely different animal. The most common explanation is he's badly behaved, or he just wants attention. And that explanation leads to solutions that don't work: punishment, ignoring it, waiting for it to pass. It doesn't pass, because the diagnosis is wrong. Barking, in the absence of the owner, is not a tantrum. It's social communication directed at an absent recipient. Dogs are descendants of canids that live and survive in groups. Vocalization, in this evolutionary context, has a primary function: maintaining pack cohesion. When a member gets lost or separated, the others vocalize. It's a location signal, "I'm here, where are you?" When your dog barks in your absence, neurologically and evolutionarily, he is calling you back. It's not disobedience, it's pack instinct operating exactly as it was programmed to over thousands of years of evolution. And here's the part that changes everything. He's not barking because he wants to annoy anyone. He's barking because he believes, at the most primitive level of his nervous system, that vocalizing might work, that you might hear, that you might come back. It's an attempt at a solution. And when no response comes, when barking doesn't resolve the absence, the system begins to collapse emotionally. The dog may escalate into destructive behaviors, not out of anger, but from the overflow of a nervous system that has exhausted its coping strategies. Chewing the couch isn't revenge. It's the last resort of an animal that has tried everything it knows how to do. Understanding this doesn't solve the problem by itself, but it radically changes your approach, because you stop treating the symptom and start seeing the cause. And the cause always comes back to the same root: the absence of the one who is the emotional center of his world. The next point will show you something that this emotional center leaves behind, something invisible to you, but absolutely real to him. Have you ever left one of your shirts on his bed before going out? If you have, you did it instinctively, and science confirms you were absolutely right. A dog's olfactory system is between 10,000 and 100,000 times more sensitive than a human's. But that's just the beginning. What matters most isn't how intensely he smells. It's what that scent does inside his brain. Researchers at Emory University in the United States conducted neuroimaging experiments with dogs, using functional MRI to observe the canine brain in real time. When dogs were exposed to their owner's scent, even in the complete absence of the person, a specific region of the brain activated consistently and intensely: the nucleus accumbens, the brain's reward center, the same circuit that, in humans, is associated with love, anticipation of pleasure, and a sense of safety. Your scent to your dog's brain isn't just information. It's an emotional experience. And there's more. Exposure to the owner's scent is associated with the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same one that connects mothers to newborns, the same one that surges in humans during hugs and moments of deep intimacy.
Translated, when he buries his nose in your clothes while you're away, he's not just smelling you. Neurologically, he's feeling your presence. You're there, even when you're not. This has an immediate and powerful practical implication. The owner's scent acts as an emotional regulator for dogs with separation anxiety. A worn piece of clothing, an item carrying your scent, placed in his space before you leave, can measurably reduce the cortisol spike in the first hours. This isn't superstition, it's neurochemistry. And it says something even more beautiful about your bond. You've left such a deep imprint on his nervous system that your scent alone has the power to calm a racing heart. You are a living emotional regulator, even from a distance. The fifth behavior will take us into even more surprising territory, because it reveals how he perceives the time you've been gone. And the answer is not what you think. Have you ever wondered if, for him, it makes a difference whether you're gone for 2 hours or 8? Most owners instinctively say, no, he has no sense of time. And that answer is partially right and completely misleading. Dogs don't measure time the way we do. They don't look at a clock. They don't count down. But saying they don't perceive the duration of your absence is a mistake that science has already disproven. Researchers at Stockholm University have shown that dogs respond differently, measurably differently to their owner's return depending on the length of separation. After 2 hours of absence, dogs displayed significantly more intense greeting behaviors than after just 30 minutes. They do perceive the difference, just not in the way we imagine. The primary mechanism isn't cognitive, it's olfactory and physiological. Your scent in the house gradually fades over time. Little by little, the olfactory concentration of your presence in the environment decreases. For a dog's sensory system, that fading acts as a kind of time marker. The weaker your scent becomes, the thinner that olfactory layer in the environment, the longer the absence has been. It's a clock built out of scent. On top of that, a dog's circadian rhythm, the internal biological cycle that regulates sleep, hunger, and activity, is sensitive to patterns of the owner's presence and absence. Over time, the dog's body learns when you usually return, and it begins to anticipate that return with physiological activation, heart rate rising, alertness increasing, even before hearing your key in the lock. He doesn't know it's 6 p.m., but his body knows it's time for you to come back. And here's what that reveals about your bond. You are so deeply embedded in his biology that your return time becomes part of his internal clock. You're not just someone he likes, you are a temporal reference point in his life. When you're late, when his internal clock says it's time and you don't show up, there's a real dysregulation. The anticipation system was activated and didn't receive its expected outcome. It's like pressing play on a video that never loads. Physiological frustration. Not drama, not manipulation, pure biology. And if you think what happens in his body while you're gone is intense, the next point will show exactly what happens in the first 30 minutes after the door closes. And the word researchers use for this period is probably not what you'd expect. 30 minutes. That's the most critical window, the point where most physical and emotional responses to separation reach their peak. And what researchers have found during this period, by monitoring heart rate, hormone levels, and behavioral patterns in dogs experiencing separation, is described in scientific literature with a very specific term: acute grief response. Not mild anxiety, not simple discomfort, acute grief. In the first few minutes after the owner leaves, the dog's cortisol levels spike. Heart rate increases. The animal enters an active search behavior, sniffing for trails, checking rooms, returning repeatedly to the exit point. He is looking for you. Not metaphorically, literally, physically, desperately within the limits of what he can do. This search behavior is the same one observed in puppies separated from their mothers. It's the same pattern recorded in wolves when a member of the pack disappears. It's an evolutionarily conserved response, which means it has persisted over thousands of years, because at some point it worked. Searching for the missing member and vocalizing their absence were strategies that helped reunite the pack. The problem is, now he's in an apartment, and the pack doesn't come back just because he barked. After this initial peak, which lasts on average between 15 and 30 minutes, the body begins to adapt. Cortisol gradually decreases, search behavior fades, the dog settles into a position, usually near the door or close to something that carries your scent, and enters a state of waiting. Not peace, waiting. It's a distinction that changes everything. He's not resting while you're at work. He's waiting for the world to make sense again, waiting for the central point of his life, you, to return and restore order. And here's the part that impacts people the most when they understand it. This cycle repeats every single time. Every single time. It's not something he simply gets over automatically with time. Dogs with healthy, deep attachment bonds maintain an active separation response throughout their lives. With adaptation, yes. With management, yes. But the attachment itself doesn't disappear. It remains, because it's exactly what makes him such an extraordinary companion. The depth of the pain in separation is proportional to the depth of the love in reunion. They are two sides of the same coin. And speaking of that waiting position, the next behavior is probably something you see every time you leave the house, but what it reveals about your dog's internal state might surprise you.
Home security cameras capture this all the time. The owner leaves, the door closes, and the dog walks to the door and stays there. Sometimes for minutes, sometimes for hours. Sometimes he even falls asleep there, resting against the threshold, and only moves when he hears the sound of your return. The most common interpretation, he's waiting for me to come back. That's true, but incomplete. This behavior reveals something much more specific about how the canine brain processes separation. To a dog, the door isn't just a physical barrier, it's the last point of contact with you. It's where your scent is most concentrated. It's the place where, the last time, presence and absence split apart. In ethological terms, the science that studies animal behavior in its evolutionary context, this is called return point vigilance. It's observed in wolves, in wild dogs, in primates. When a group member leaves, others stay near the exit point, actively monitoring the possibility of return. It's pure pack behavior. And what this reveals is that to your dog, you're not just someone he loves, you're the one who left, and whose return is necessary for the pack to feel whole again. He's not at the door out of stubbornness or empty habit. He's there because that's the only place in the world where he can do something about your return. Monitor, wait, be ready. It's one of the purest forms of loyalty there is. And now we've reached the behavior I promised from the beginning, the one most owners see every single day, interpret superficially, and that once you truly understand what's happening, will never look the same again. You open the door, and he explodes. He jumps, barks, spins, pushes, licks. He can't stop. It looks like you've been gone for 5 years. You've been gone for 6 hours. Most people smile, give a quick pat, and think, how dramatic. This is the moment, this behavior, the one I've been building up to from the very beginning. Because what's happening in that reunion isn't drama. It's not excessive excitement. It's not a lack of emotional control. It's a neurological release from a system that has spent hours in a state of alert. Let's break down what happens in his brain and body in the first 90 seconds after you walk in. Throughout your absence, his attachment system stayed active. Elevated cortisol, sustained vigilance, constant emotional waiting. His body remained, for hours, in a state of incompleteness, like an open circuit waiting to be closed. When you appear, the circuit closes. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same one released when you hug him, the same one active between mothers and babies, surges in significant amounts. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward and pleasure, fires through the limbic system. Cortisol begins to drop rapidly. All of this happens in seconds.
What you see as agitation, the jumping, spinning, barking, is the physical expression of a nervous system shifting from alert to relief. It's his entire body communicating, in the only language he has, something that in human terms would sound like, "You're back, the world is whole again." Researchers who studied eye contact between dogs and their owners found that this gaze, especially during reunion, increases oxytocin levels in both, in the dog and in the human. The same neurobiological mechanism that exists between parents and children exists between you and him. It's not a metaphor, it's lab data. And here's what that truly means. Every time you come home, every time you open that door, you're doing something for him that goes far beyond routine. You are restoring the center of his world. You are proving, once again, that the waiting was worth it, that the most important member of the pack has returned. Those 90 seconds of apparent chaos are the most important 90 seconds of his day. Not the walk, not the food, the reunion. And what do most owners do? They tell him to calm down. They pull away. They walk in distracted, looking at their phone. They ignore those first minutes because he needs to learn not to jump. Sometimes behavior needs to be trained, yes. But before any training, it's essential to understand what's being communicated. He's not being excessive. He's being honest. That moment of reunion was never small to him. Never. And maybe, now, it doesn't have to be small to you either.
If you made it this far, if at any point in this video you recognized your dog or felt seen in a situation you'd never been able to put into words, then you already know this isn't ordinary content. This is what we do here every week. We translate what they can't say into words. We turn behaviors that seem small into windows into something much bigger. If you want to keep understanding the animal you chose to share your life with, subscribe to the channel. It's free. And each video will change little by little the way you see him. And if this video resonated with you, if something here stayed with you, leave a like before you go. It helps more people find this content. More owners understanding more dogs. It truly matters. Next week, we'll talk about something that happens inside your home, not in your absence, but in your presence. Behaviors your dog uses to tell you things you've probably been misinterpreting for years. You'll walk away from that video seeing him with completely different eyes. Until then.